Fellas, after his last few wins, I think it's safe to say that Islam Makhachev looks practically unbeatable in the UFC. I don't think there's anyone in the UFC that we can definitely say can beat Islam Makhachev right now, but I've got a list of 5 opponents, potential opponents for Islam Makhachev that I think could give him a really tough fight and even potentially beat him compared to the rest of the roster. Now, I'm not saying these people will definitely beat Islam. I'm not saying if these guys were to fight, I'd bet on the opponent of Islam. I'm just saying out of these 5 guys, I think these guys would give Islam the toughest test out of every fighter. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and if I missed anyone out, because I don't think there's too many fighters that can beat Islam. But starting off in 5th place, I've gone Arman Tsarukyan. Now, Arman Tsarukyan's faced Islam Makhachev before, and it was actually quite a competitive fight. It isn't like Islam finished him super early on. It wasn't like Islam completely dominated him. It was actually quite a competitive fight, and we actually saw Arman Tsarukyan give Islam problems, not only on the feet, but even in grappling, which we don't really get to see a lot with Islam Makhachev. But granted, this isn't the same Islam Makhachev. It's not that wasn't prime Islam, but at the same time, that wasn't prime Arman Tsarukyan either. Tsarukyan's looked great in his last few, especially his last fight where he was able to go out there and completely knock out Beneil Dariush like it was nothing. And we've seen what Beneil Dariush has done to guys like Gamrot. So for Arman Tsarukyan to do that to Islam, that's a really impressive win. And I think he could definitely give Islam a tough fight. If he can beat Oliveira at UFC 300, 100%, he's going to be next in line to fight Islam. And if he can actually get past Charles Oliveira, bearing in mind no one really has been able to get past Charles Oliveira recently besides Islam Makhachev himself. So if Arman Tsarukyan can get past Charles Oliveira, whether it be on the feet or grappling, and I think he has the capabilities to do so because he's really well-rounded. He's not just a one-trick pony, which Oliveira has faced in the past. If Arman Tsarukyan can get past Charles Oliveira, I wouldn't mind his chances against Islam Makhachev. He does look practically unbeatable, does Islam, but I think the style of Arman Tsarukyan and the fact that they fought before and it was actually quite competitive, I think that Arman Tsarukyan is definitely a tough fight for Islam. So for 5th place, I'm going Arman Tsarukyan. 4th place, we're going with a guy that's recently lost to Islam Makhachev, and that's Charles Oliveira. Now, I know that Charles Oliveira has been beaten by Islam Makhachev, and it wasn't in the same fashion of Arman Tsarukyan. It wasn't even like it was a competitive fight. Charles Oliveira lost on the feet and when it came to grappling. But if there's one thing we must, stay loyal to when it comes to Charles Oliveira, it's that you can never count out Charles Oliveira. That's a rule in MMA. It should be in the history books of MMA. You can't count out Charles Oliveira. Whenever you think he's going to lose, even if he loses the first round, you can't count him out. Look at what he's done. Loses the first round to Michael Chandler, finishes him in the next. Loses to Poirier early on, finishes him in the next. He's done that throughout his entire career. He was doubted against Beneil Dariush, and he goes out there and finishes him. And I just don't think we can doubt Charles Oliveira. He's the best lightweight in the world right now if you take away Islam Makhachev, and I'm sure he's going to have a different game plan in the second time. I'm not saying he's going to beat Islam, or I'm not saying the first time was a fluke or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm sure we're going to see a different Charles Oliveira. And like I said with Arman, if Charles Oliveira can get past one of the biggest prospects, or now he's a contender in Arman Tsarukyan in the lightweight division, then I wouldn't mind his chances to beat Islam. If there's a guy in the lightweight division that's going to beat Islam Makhachev, it's going to be Charles Oliveira. I can see him getting dominated the first round, and then out of nowhere in the second round dropping him, and then going into a guillotine submission and submitting Islam Makhachev. If there's anyone that's going to do that, it's going to be Charles Oliveira. So for 4th place, even though he's been finished by Islam before, and it wasn't as competitive as the Arman Tsarukyan fight, I'm going to go Charles Oliveira. He's the best lightweight in the world if you take away Islam. He's got elite jiu-jitsu. His striking's amazing. He's always improved his striking, and he seems like he's improving every fight. And maybe the Abu Dhabi was just a one-off bad performance, or maybe Islam just made him look that bad. But yeah, Charles Oliveira in 4th place. 3rd place. Now, this is going to be an opponent that I don't think much people were expecting to see on this list. But you've got to hear me out with this one. Michael Chandler. Now, you've got to hear me out. I understand he's lost to Dustin Poirier. He's lost to Justin Gaethje. He's lost to Charles Oliveira. How would you even... when would he even fight Islam Makhachev? Now, I don't think he's going to fight Islam because, first of all, it seems like his only intentions in his career right now is to face Conor McGregor. But I think stylistically, Michael Chandler would give Islam Makhachev a really, really difficult fight. I don't think he's going to get to the title shot because he doesn't beat most of the contenders. He's already lost to most of the contenders. Plus, he doesn't seem like he wants to chase gold anymore. But theoretically, if Michael Chandler was to face Islam, even though you've got to hear me out in this one, because I know Michael Chandler's fight IQ is terrible, I think Michael Chandler on a good day could beat Islam Makhachev. First of all, you look at the grappling side of things. Islam's usually got the upper hand when it comes to grappling in nearly every fight. Michael Chandler's a great wrestler. He's explosive. He's short. He's not this lanky wrestler for Islam to maul. Michael Chandler's a great wrestler, and he's extremely strong. I don't think Islam's going to be able to take him down easily. I don't think Islam's going to be able to ragdoll him. Michael Chandler's going to be able to hold his own when it comes to grappling. He's insanely strong. He's short, muscular, stocky, and he can wrestle. And then on the feet, even though Islam Makhachev's a more complete striker than Michael Chandler is explosive. And if he can land that one big shot on Islam Makhachev's chin, that could be lights out for Islam Makhachev. If there's one guy that's going to knock out Islam Makhachev in the division, well, there's a few actually, but I would bet money on Chandler out of, maybe some other fighters in the division. So Michael Chandler is coming in at 3rd place. I think stylistically he's a really difficult fight for Islam, even though we're never going to see the fight because Michael Chandler's never going to get to the stage of a title shot. Stylistically, I think he's really tough, and Michael Chandler on a good night could definitely be the guy to beat Islam. So yeah, I'm going Michael Chandler in 3rd place. 2nd place, and I would actually argue that this fighter has the upper hand when fighting Islam Makhachev. I would argue that they should even be the betting favourite when beating Islam, and that is Leon Edwards. Now, I know that he's in a different division. He's not a lightweight, and I'm not just going to go through a bunch of fighters in different divisions saying that they could beat Islam. The only reason I've chosen Leon is because this is a matchup that's practically inevitable. If Leon continues to defend his belt, and so does Islam Makhachev, I'm pretty sure 2025, maybe even late 2024, we're going to see Islam Makhachev versus Leon Edwards, which is a super fight. I think Leon Edwards has a really, really good chance of beating Islam Makhachev. First of all, the obvious, he's a 170 pounder. He's much bigger than everyone else that Islam Makhachev has faced before. He's not a Volkanovski. He's not a Charles Oliveira. This guy's big for a welterweight, is Leon Edwards. So he's incredibly bigger than most of the fighters that Islam Makhachev used to face. And second of all, Leon Edwards is used to grapplers. He's coming off wins over Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, and soon it's going to be Bilal Muhammad. This guy's so used to grapplers, and he's in a grappling-heavy division, so I don't think Islam Makhachev's going to show Leon Edwards anything that he hasn't seen before. And on top of that, Leon's always improving his grappling. Every fight, Leon Edwards' grappling improves even more, whether it be his takedown offense or defense. He seems to be improving his grappling every fight does Leon Edwards, so it's not like Islam has the upper hand there. And then when it comes to striking, Leon's one of the best strikers in the UFC. I understand that Islam Makhachev's improved his striking, but Leon could easily pick apart Islam Makhachev for 5 rounds, and I don't think he'd struggle too much. In fact, I'd probably pick Leon Edwards to beat Islam Makhachev if they were to have a fight, just because of the style difference and the fact that Leon's so big. So Leon Edwards is coming in at 2nd place. I think he has a really, really good chance of beating Islam Makhachev, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't even favour Islam beating Leon Edwards. Maybe Islam could pull it off because at the end of the day, it is Islam Makhachev, and he has looked flawless against top-level opponents, but Leon Edwards is different, man. Different division, different fighter. So in 2nd place is Leon Edwards. And then in 1st place, the fighter that I think would beat Islam Makhachev, the one fighter I would bet money that could beat Islam Makhachev, and it's Islam Makhachev himself. That's how good I think Islam Makhachev is. Outside of Leon Edwards, I don't think anyone in the UFC is going to take that belt off Islam, guaranteed, besides Islam Makhachev himself. If I'm being completely honest, I think he's going to rule the lightweight division, even though I've just created this list of difficult fights in the lightweight division and obviously welterweight for Leon that could beat Islam Makhachev. I don't think anyone outside of Islam Makhachev is guaranteed going to take that belt away from him. Whether it be Islam Makhachev retiring or deciding he's going to hang the gloves up like Khabib did, I just said the same thing twice, but either way, Islam Makhachev is the only person that can stop him from winning, because I genuinely think Islam's that good and he's unbeatable, and I can't see any lightweight contender beating Islam Makhachev. So it all just comes down to Islam at the end of the day, which is why he's number 1, because he's the only person that I can only see Islam beating himself, to be honest. I can't see any lightweight contender beating Islam. So I'm going to say that Islam Makhachev, if he wants to keep the belt, he will. If he doesn't want to keep the belt, he won't. As simple as that. And yeah, that is my top 5 list of fighters in the UFC that I can see beating Islam Makhachev, because he has looked practically unbeatable in his last few. Let me know if I've missed any fighters out. Like I said at the start, it's hard to kind of think of any other fighters outside of this list that could beat Islam Makhachev that's, reasonable, ones that are realistic. So let me know your thoughts on the list, and thank you for watching.